Well, hello again, everybody. Jim Waszak and Kevin O'Flaherty here at Seize Your Business. And in this episode, our guest is Paul Lloyd from Iron Layer Security. He's in the business of data security, something that, is near and dear to all our hearts. We keep hearing horror stories on the news. So, Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Iron Layer does, and then we'll just have some Q&A.
Sure. Iron Layer Security has a new technology, kind of a game-changing technology, and this is very technical, so it's kind of hard to explain. But where you're going to encrypt your data, you're going to now add another layer of security using our solution. It's called Perplex, and our solution will work kind of like encryption in that it obfuscates or changes the data in some way. But unlike encryption, in encryption, there's always a connection or a way to decipher the code that's been created back to the original message. But with our solution, what happens is we blow up the data, turn it into garbage, and there's no way to put it back together unless you have the blueprints, and that's sort of our little secret sauce is a transcoding process that allows you to put the data back together.
So the people that would use your service would be like large retailers or just about anybody, or where's the sweet spot?
Yeah, the sweet spot is actually the app developers, the people who create the software out in the marketplace, because what we're selling isn't so much a complete software package as it is a layer of data or content that goes into the programs they're developing. Now, we do work with end users, like you're mentioning, like a big box retailer, thank you. But with them, we might be developing some unique package that would be a software package that doesn't exist now. If it exists now, we'll go to the app development community. Somebody has already developed a solution, and we'll say, hey, we've got a customer. They want our solution in your software. Will you do it for us? And they'll all say yes. It's big sales for them.
So your solution sounds to me like it resides in the actual software as opposed to like something on top or around it.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
The technical aspect of that, for those who know a little bit about how software is put together, there's about 7 or 8 layers of data or information that goes into any software package. One of the layers is the encryption layer or the security layer. And what we do is we tell people, hey, encryption's a good thing, keep it, but let's add this other layer, put it either right above or right below the encryption layer as you're developing your software package. And that provides this additional layer that cannot be hacked using the techniques people use to hack through encryption.
So what does a non-app developer, just your run-of-the-mill small business owner, what do they need to know about data encryption? Is that, or is the answer nothing? Is that just not really relevant to most business owners?
It's relevant, Kevin, in the sense that you might want to send me some files, legal documents. Right now, you could use PKZip, zip the files, it's built into your Windows, and you would be encrypting that. PKZip is an encryption, includes an encryption capability, and then at my end, I could open it automatically. So we don't have to do a lot, but you get some value. That encryption isn't considered very secure, but it gives you a layer of encryption. When you're dealing with your local bank, you want to know that transaction over the internet is secure. Guess what? It really isn't today. And so what would be important for the small business owner is to know that the banks they're using, the companies they're doing business with, where you're dealing with highly sensitive data, all of those that sensitive data is protected in some way, and that should at least be an encryption layer. That's sort of the state of the art today before our invention. And as time goes forward, Uh, and our name gets out there, and as we're starting to achieve some success and get known in the marketplace, people will be wise to ask for our perplex solution to be included in the websites, let's say, that a bank would have for you to do your transactions. When you send legal documents to customers, PDF file, but wouldn't it be great if the PDF file can't possibly be opened by someone who's using standard encryption hacking type techniques, which is how people do it.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's frustrating, you know, this world we live in where, you know, we all have to be so careful and everything. And, you know, I've gotten these emails where it says, you know, hey, I'm in Mexico and I lost my wallet. Can you email me some money? And I inherited money from some king in Africa. And, you know, they're always asking me for my social security number, my credit card, bank account. So, you know, to simplify my life, I just put all that now in my signature. So any email I send out, they have that information. They don't have to hassle me with it. Do you think that's a good idea? That was our comic.
A setup question.
That was our comic relief for the show.
You put your social security number on your signature?
Then they don't have to ask me for it.
That's a great idea, sure.
But you know what? The serious question is, you know, when I've heard of some of these frauds that get perpetrated, I just don't know how much we could protect ourselves. I know there was one thing I saw in one of the news magazines about these people doing fraudulent income tax returns, and somebody asked one of the bad guys, well, how do you get all these social security numbers? He said, that's not hard at all. We go into a dentist's office or a doctor's office, we tell the receptionist, hey, give me 100 names, I'll give you $1,000. We get them all the time. I mean, you know, how do you stop that?
Well, the Achilles heel of any security system is the person who's behaving illegally, the bad actor, if you will. And there's a couple of things you do. One is you manage the access to data such that there's, for example, that case, the dentist office with the social security number, the only person who should have access to a patient's social security number is someone in a role that requires having that information. So you can't go into a dentist office and talk to somebody at the desk and bribe them into giving you, because they don't have access to it. You limit the access. Then what that does for you is it makes it easier when there is a breach to say, well, there's only two people who have access to it. It's either you or you. And so that's another thing you can do. But that's always going to be the Achilles heel. I'd mentioned there's a transcoding process with our solution. The end user, if you're going to protect a file using our perplex solution, you're going to send it to Kevin. At Kevin's end, he's going to need the blueprints. We call it a transcoder that will translate all this garbage data back into real data. And if you've got an admin assistant or somebody who has access to your computer, they can steal the transcoder. Once they have that, they can steal the data, assuming they also have the password to get into it. So there is some protection built in. The other thing we do is we time code the transcoders so that it can only be opened for 24 hours or 12 hours or 10 minutes, whatever the decision is of the client to do it. So if you're sitting there and you're sending papers out that are very time sensitive, you know the recipient is going to open them immediately. You send them, you call them, you give them a password, they open it, and then it'll never open again.
So, Paul, let me ask you this question. I always find it's interesting how people got to where they are. I know that when I first met you, you were doing some marketing work, and I think something to do with publishing, if I recall correctly, and you were never in this field. How did you come to be in this business that, to my knowledge, is brand new to you?
Well, this is I love that question. 30 years I ran a marketing communications firm. I'm a writer by training through college, an English major. And I've written 6 novels that are on Amazon. There's a bunch of short stories out on Amazon. I have some nonfiction business books that are out there. And the way I transitioned from that into this business is the invention we're talking about is a result of my son Joseph's work, and he was doing a contract for NASA at the time, and got this bright idea, and asked me if I'd help him with the business, and I said, yeah, I could probably set up your marketing and sales function. I'm stronger in marketing than sales, but you don't own a business and run it for 30 years without knowing something about sales.
Right.
And so I set that up, and then he said, well, I just got hired by General Dynamics to do some really cool projects, and so you're president now. So I said, okay. I think I know how to do that. Well, we've spent the last 18 months putting the business together. What's fun about it, challenging, is my son chose to release our solution, at least in its most basic form, as what's called an open source process. That means anyone can have access to the process, but there's no code that they can have access. So in other words, there's a white paper that's available, and the white paper shows you how to do it, rather than you're going to download some code and drop it into your app that you're developing. What that did for us, the big favor of that was no investor will put money into the company because there's no IP for them to own. So we have to build it from the ground up using sweat equity.
Yeah.
And so I had to build a team of business development people, engineers, to look in on sweat equity basis. And
Got it.
they get paid when we get paid.
Tell me, I didn't know you had written novels, but what's the genre of those novels?
Oh, yeah. They're in the... First of all, I cross a lot of genres with my stories,
Okay.
but the horror horror is the primary.
Okay.
I like to write about the strangers and monsters among us, so
Okay.
that gets to be a lot of fun. My latest novel is actually a series of 4 novels. 3 are available on Amazon now, and the 4th one I'm currently writing. And it's a time travel adventure. It's teenagers. There's a romance involved in it. There's some sci-fi. There's a teenage alien shapeshifter who can, because of the nature of their alien world, can be either male or female, and that adds a whole level of activity in a novel. It's interesting. So, and it's a lot of fun for teenagers. They go back in time, and the time travel allows the reader to gain some perspective of history for certain years where these kids visit. So it's a lot of fun that way.
That's a fascinating subject. I often have this thought in my head. If I got hit by lightning and I got a superpower from there, what would I want to do? And then time travel is definitely on the list. And the first place I'd go, he won't know about this, you might, but I'd want to go back to Riverview Amusement Park. It used to be on the north side of Chicago.
You're right, I don't know about that.
Fantastic place. So,
Paul, thanks.
Super. Yes,
Thanks for
thank
taking
you,
the time
Paul.
to talk
How
to
can
us.
people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you? Give our listeners...
www.ironlayersecurity.com.
Super.
Jim, how can people reach you?
630-272-3895. Always available. And call me with your toughest challenges, and we'll figure out how to solve them.
And you can reach me for legal help at 630-324-6666. And if you want to download episodes of the podcast, you can do that on iTunes, or you can do that and check out videos of our podcast at seizeyourbusiness.com. So thanks so much for being here, Bob.